Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are looking at the Draftkings and Fanduel NFL Week 10 picks. We're still waiting on a lot of news. We have some quarterbacks still questionable right now, Josh Allen and Kyler Murray. So stay tuned to updates. We'll get them early Sunday morning. But I wanted to go ahead and give you guys some of the plays that I have right now locked in. So as always, if you enjoy the videos, appreciate it if the like button, subscribe. If you haven't already, you can check out Twitter, check out the website. All those links are down below in the description. So right now, Josh Allen is questionable. It's a big matchup against the Vikings. Trying to avoid losing 2 games in a row after that surprising loss to the Jets last week. He's questionable. He's dealing with an elbow issue, so even if he does play, there is some concern. Right below him, you have Patrick Mahomes, who I think is a tremendous play this week. He's going up against the Jaguars. He's looked really, really good, and I think there's a strong consideration for him to take the MVP, especially if Josh Allen is out this week. So he's probably maybe playing a little bit more for that, but it could be down to Mahomes and Hurts at this point if Allen is going to miss this week or maybe another week. And then Murray is also questionable, dealing with a hamstring, so that's pretty big. It's not going to be, maybe he doesn't run as much with that injury if he does play. For that reason, I have no interest in him. Do have some good quarterbacks down here in the mid-range, like Tua is not the easiest matchup against a pretty still stout Browns defense. Middle of the pack, I'd say. But they've given up a lot of points. However, like Tua has looked really good in the games that he has played. They're at home. They should get the win, but I don't mind going down to like Fields for a couple hundred less. He gets one of the best matchups of the week against the Detroit defense. They are second to last against the rush and third to last against the pass and giving up the most points so far this year. And Fields is playing as well as he's ever had so far in the NFL, playing with a lot of confidence. So it's tough to not like Justin Fields this week against Detroit. Other picks at the position would be going down to possibly, if you want to take shots on like Wilson or Rodgers for tournaments, and you have guys that you can pair with them just with some injuries on Green Bay. It's kind of made the wide receivers pretty clear, and that you can pair him with like Jones or Tanyan. And then below 55, you have Dalton, who I don't mind at this price tag, but still gives you a lower floor, so probably better for tournaments. And possibly Lawrence, but also been very up and down, so only somebody that you look to for tournaments. But I think Fields gives you good upside for cash and GPPs. At running back this week, Derrick Henry is $8,300. Still think he looks really, really good. It's going to be definitely impacting on who the quarterback will be, because we saw with Malik Willis there, they just don't trust Malik Willis to throw that much, and so it's just led to a lot of touchdowns for Henry and just giving him a ton of touches, except last week he only got 17 carries. Looks like Tannehill's questionable. Hopefully he's able to play, but if not, then Henry looks like another great pay-up. You have Saquon Barkley, who's been good. He hasn't had a big monster game since week number 1. Otherwise, he's been good, but nothing like earth-shattering performances. Now he gets one of the best matchups you could ask for on the ground against Houston. If Willis is starting, then I probably like Henry a little bit more, but if Tannehill's back, then I would probably go to Barkley instead of Henry. Other guys that you could look to are definitely Nick Chubb at $8,100. Getting Taylor at only $75, but the Colts have just been a fade pretty much since they switched quarterbacks, and even before that, a couple weeks before that, they've just not been very fun to roster at all this year. You have Alvin Kamara, who I like a lot at this price tag. Gets a matchup, decent matchup against the Steelers on the road, but they've been really bad against the air. Decent against the rush, but Kamara is a guy that can, he's going to get you possibly 9 to 10 targets and get you double-digit carries as well. However, the favorite running back once again this week, based on price tag, will be Travis Etienne, just with all the touches that he's getting. He got 30 touches last week. Week before that, he got 27. So with James Robinson out of the picture, it's just been all Travis Etienne, and a matchup against the Chiefs, it should be more fast-paced and maybe more high scoring than the Jaguars are used to. They're going to have to score some touchdowns to keep up. So, Etienne can also catch some passes, as we saw last few weeks. Other guys that we have down here are Tony Pollard if Zeke is out, or if we get that Zeke is limited and Pollard is going to be starting, then love Pollard at 65. It'd be tough to get away from him. Then another cheap running back that we have is Dameon Pierce, who's only $6,300, and he gets also a good matchup against the Giants defense, bottom third against the rush, and He's another guy that just been getting all the carries for the most part. Burkhead will mix in a few, but 27 touches last week, 18 the week before that, 24, 29. He's just been a workhorse, and we're seeing translate to pretty steady production, and he does give you upside as well to get into the end zone. At wide receiver, you have all the top-end studs that you want to pay up for. You have Tyreek Hill as your most expensive guy. He's looked really, really good, over 30 in 3 out of the last 4 games. Matchup against the Browns isn't the best out of the top 4, I'd say, but it's still, probably top 2. However, I like Cooper Kupp the most. This price tag, it's just such a great one to go to a guy that hasn't dropped below. He dropped under 17 fantasy points just twice this year. Hasn't dropped under 16 at all, and you see a lot of 20s. And it's been a couple weeks, or since the first 2 weeks, he hasn't gotten to 30. He's gotten really close a couple times. I think that can happen against this very bad Arizona secondary. Is giving up 250 plus yards per game and giving up the second most points per game. And at home, coming off of a disappointing loss against the Bucs, which they just let Tom Brady march down the field under a minute. I think the Rams will come out at least scoring and trying to take some of their punishment out on the Cardinals. Other guys that I'm looking at are definitely Chris Olave. If you wanted to just go with him by himself, you don't have to pair him with Dalton at all. He's going to be, with Michael Thomas, looks like he's out for the year. He's going to continue to be the number 1 wide receiver. He's been steady. He has double digits every week since week number 1, and he's gotten some heavy targeted games as well. This could be another one where Olave has a big game against a bad secondary. So I like Waddle. I like Olave. The top group, Cooper Kupp's my favorite, but then it would be probably Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill. Diggs also looks like a great play, but for $700 more, might as well just try to get to Cooper Kupp. And then below $6,500, Gabe Davis. Lazard is, without Dobbs, he's going to get most of the targets at receiver for the Packers this week. But I also really wanted to touch on Juju Smith-Schuster because he's been getting a lot of targets recently, and they've ruled out McCole Hardman for tomorrow's game. So without Hardman, you see and expect Juju Smith-Schuster's role to be very secure. And you could possibly even look to Tony for deep tournaments, or even Valdez-Scantling's price tag is pretty good. But Smith is probably the safest out of any of the receivers in Kansas City. Below 5K, you can look to guys like Claypool or Gallup or Robinson, guys that can have touchdowns or can have decent games, but they're also been pretty up and down. Scantling's only $4,100. He only had 1 catch last week, but definitely a price tag where you can look to in tournaments. Just takes one big play for a guy like him, and without Hardman, you could be the guy looking for deep threats. And Tony's price tag is 5K, so I probably like Scantling more than Tony. Over at the tight end position, Kelsey's going to benefit with some more targets without Hardman. He looks good. Hawkinson didn't miss a beat, 9 for 9, 70 yards in his Minnesota debut. Then we got some guys out. Waller's on IR. Njoku's out, so Bryant possibly would get more involved, but he didn't really do much last time he had a chance. But Greg Dulcich, just such a steady contributor at the 3 games that he's played. Decent targets, but he's been having some big plays, 38-yarder, 39-yarder. He's a force to be a guy that can be thrown to in the red zone situations. We saw him get targeted twice. In the first game, had 1 touchdown. At this price tag, I like him a lot. Also, Foster Moreau against the Colts without both Hunter Renfrow and also Waller. It's going to make him look better right behind Devontae Adams. So, and then you also could look to Evan Ingram or even Cole Kmet if you wanted to pair with Justin Fields. So do have a lot of cheaper tight ends to consider. If I had to rank them, it would probably be Dulcich as my favorite based on the price tag. Probably Tunyon. And then I look to Foster Moreau, Higbee, Cole Kmet. They're all in the mix. So, you can consider whatever tight end you want. Probably stick in that 3K range, though. Or you can even double stack if you want to go with the cheaper flex. But I'm going to go with Matt Collins as the last guy I'm going to give you guys. Only $4,200 last time. Matt Collins played a lot of snaps. Well, last time Hunter Renfrow was out and he played a lot of snaps. He only had 6.3, I believe, but week before that he gave you 33, and he was pretty low owned. Did have him that week, so but I'm going to go ahead and put him again today. Not only Waller is out, but also no Renfro. He's also been getting so many snaps and so many, is lining up so many snaps and running so many routes anyways, being their number 3 wide receiver for most of the year. Now he's going to step into number 2, and, just with them missing a couple weapons, he's definitely going to get involved. So those are 5 guys that I like a lot, or 6 guys that I like a lot, at least right now, from Saturday at 4:30 Eastern Time. Stay tuned for updates on Twitter. Things will change. Defense-wise, if Josh Allen is out, then the Vikings defense will be the one that everybody will go to, but I think they're still a very good play. You can look to, in the mid-range, possibly go with maybe the Steelers defense. If you're not playing anybody on the Saints, go up a little bit to maybe the Bears defense. But still, they have some holes back there. If Willis is starting, the Broncos defense looks good. And then don't really see myself paying up for any defense, but probably like the Dolphins would be one that catches my eye a little bit. But really, cheap defense is what I usually do. So that's it for DraftKings. Let's go ahead now and look at FanDuel. All right, on FanDuel quarterback plays, you have Allen, Mahomes, and Fields has jumped up to the 3rd most expensive quarterback this week. Now, it looks pretty scary, but I still like him a lot with the rushing upside that it'll give you. You can go Mahomes if you wanted to for 200 more. So that's probably what I'll do. But Fields is definitely right in the mix with how good of a matchup it is and the way that he's been playing recently. So those are the top 2 guys I'm looking at. On FanDuel, usually I just like to pay up a little bit more for quarterback. You guys have, the pricing is a little bit more within just $1,000 or $1,500. But value guys would be like possibly Wilson or Lawrence or Dalton. Running backs on FanDuel, you once again, Barkley and Henry are your 2 most expensive guys. Probably, like I said, same kind of thing that I said on DraftKings, depending on who's starting for a quarterback at Tennessee. But value guys here, ETN is going to be a guy I'm looking at on both sites. Pierce, still think he looks good. Maybe a little bit less so on FanDuel at that price tag, but still a really good option. Then you have Jonathan Taylor, is only $7K. That's a price tag you can consider. Pollard, if there is no Zeke or if he's limited. And even like Dalvin Cook is very cheap against. It's not the easiest matchup, but he's still basically going to get most of the work and can catch some passes. So on FanDuel, I like his price tag at 75. Jones is in the mix last year he had like 4 touchdowns against the Cowboys, I believe. So, they're looking for somebody to score or some sort of spark on the Packers offense, and Jones can more than usually apply some of that. Wide receivers on FanDuel, same, like at the top group, it's going to be Cooper Kupp as the guy I'm looking at on both sites to pay out for. Everybody's pretty much squeezed in between $700, a few $100 of each other. Justin Jefferson looks pretty good. Hill looks good. Adams looks good, but you can also go cheaper if you wanted to. Like Juju Smith-Schuster is $7K, and Mahomes and his pairing looks good this week without Hardman. He's going to get a lot of the targets and just kind of see if like Valdez-Scantling or Tony's, how much work they take away from Smith-Schuster, but I expect probably double-digit targets out of him or close to double-digit targets. 6K range, Gabe Davis, nicely priced. We have Jerry Jeudy's nicely priced. Just have a lot of good options to look at. Below $6,000, we know that what's going on with Houston, with Cooks, if he's not playing, then like Chris Moore looks good as a value piece. Pierce will get some more touches or maybe a little bit more usage. Tony's only 55 on FanDuel. He looks solid. Same thing with Valdez-Scantling. But Matt Collins is going to be the cheap receiver that I'm looking at on both sites. So like I mentioned, Chris Moore at that price tag you can consider. But these are the 6 guys I'm looking at on FanDuel. Pretty much the same deal. What I said on DraftKings. Pricing is pretty, not crazy. You have guys priced in similar ranges. Tight end wise, if you're not going up to Kelsey, Hawkinson looks pretty good at 6K. Well, once again, the same values. Tunyon is only 5K. That's a great price tag. Evan Ingram's nicely priced, but I love Tunyon, Foster Moreau, Cole Kmet, and Greg Dulcich would be the main group that I'm looking at on FanDuel. And then defense-wise, the Vikings are very cheap on both sides. So if there is no Josh Allen this week, then they're going to be the chalk. But sometimes you have to eat the chalk. Not on defenses all the time, but at least in cash games, those would be, probably smart to start with them. In tournaments, you can definitely look elsewhere. Other ones look maybe the Steelers defense against, like I mentioned, against the Saints. We have the Cardinals defense a bit if you're not paying playing Cooper Kupp or anybody on the Rams offense, but I think the Rams will show out a little bit this week after what happened last week against the Bucs. And your pay-up defense would be, probably like maybe the Broncos if Willis is starting, but really not much pay-ups defense this week I'm looking at. So that's what I got for you guys, week number 10. Let me know let me know what you guys think in the comments, if you have other guys that you like this week. And stay tuned for updates on Twitter at the DFS Process. Best of luck, and I'll see you all next time.